Hi guys. The ongoing saga of ball turners. I'm still hooked on it in terms of trying to get further ahead, or better results anyway. This is the one you've seen me playing with that in the tool post, and I've been trying to work it with tooling so I could advance the cross slide, but in fact, as one or two people have said, it'd probably be a lot better to lock the cross slide and change the setting on the boring head with each pass. I think it's a better idea and probably more forgiving on tooling. And one video, I forget the name of the guy now, it's one I've seen twice and I've kept a copy. He'd made a homemade ball turner after the same principle, and he had a fairly simple cutter. It was round. He might have used some drill rod, and he ground one side, put a bit of relief on it, and was cutting really quite well. Anyway, I've got a harebrained scheme. I mean, this could be an absolute hiding to nothing or take me nowhere, but I'm going to give it a try, and I'll tell you what I'm going to try and do. Let me just point at something on the lathe. Now I've just got a piece of tube in the chuck just as a means of having something there. Now what I was, somebody, Pierre Beaudry, I'm trying to, probably said his name wrong, guy in Canada, he does some nice videos. He suggested, and I'm sort of stuck thinking about this, to have the boring head coming in from above, because then if we had tooling, let's say a short boring bar with a tool insert, we could actually, let me just get this out of the way a bit, we could actually have the tool always on machine center. The downside, of course, is to get a position like that is going to involve a lot of hassle, and above all, probably it may be very poor for rigidity. But what I'm going to try, and I say it may be a waste of time, I've got a piece of square in here, and I think this is metric. It's 20mm, but I happen to have lots of it, a number of lengths. So I've cut a piece off to put in here. Now I'll put that piece, which is cut arbitrarily at the moment, and from here extend about, I did work it out, I forget now, we would extend out probably about another 2.5 inches, and then have the rotation point here, and then a handle, obviously. But the mechanics of this are such that the moment applied to this system is such that it's bound not to be totally rigid. This is where the experiment comes in. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to prep these pieces and try and get the TIG fired up and get this secured on here. As I'll have to face this off. I've got some facing to do first so I can get square, and then cut a short piece for here which will be bored, and basically just try and see if I can make the system work, because the approach of the tooling would be obviously much more ideal. Possibly with light cuts the rigidity problem may not be too bad, but we'll see. It's just one of those mad things I have in mind. Well, I'm only facing these pieces of square, but force of habit, get it centered up, and then basically if I release this on jaws 1 and 2 and tighten it right back up. We'll be pretty close on the others. Not that it's very important, but anyway, face this both ends. I've got about 6 ends to face. That'll do for the first one. Okay, we've got 6 pieces now, and that goes in the tool post. Then we've got the vertical, then we've got the horizontal, which will take the boring head. I've got to check the length of this yet, and then it's a case probably just drill a hole in here for the shaft and get this weird shaped piece welded up. I'm just going to drill a 1/2 inch hole in the what we might call the top piece. I've set up my air blast just to try and keep the chips. I'm putting a 1/4 inch through initially, and then I'll go with the 1/2, and I've shimmed out the block slightly so I can get the 1/2 inch drilled through clear. Just checking alignment there. Well, the air blast is really meant for chips. Doesn't you ain't gonna do a lot on the drilling swarf, is it? Yeah, just trying it out. But I think it'll be useful for small chips. Well, I've had to switch to the drill press. For some reason the motor stopped running on the mill. I got about 1/8 of an inch in, and then it, with minimal load, I mean it was cutting beautifully, and then just the motor quit. And I don't know if it's got any thermal overload protection at all, but anyway, it may well be the speed controller that's quit. So it's not very pleasing. Anyway, I'm going to finish off on here. Make sure I've still got clearance. It's a fairly new drill bit. We're through. That's why that was a bit noisy. So now I'm going to grind these pieces and set up and see if I can get a TIG joint on them. Well, we got these ground, and try and get a few tacks done if I can. I'm using a foot pedal, so I'm probably maxing out about 160 on this setting. About 15-16 CFM, number 6 cup and gas lens. I got a thin rod here which I'm hoping will do just to get a tack. forgot to hold it at the end there. Still getting used to Mr. T. Let's check again here. That wasn't very central. It's holding together at the moment. I won't bore you with all that. I'll just press on. I'll tell you what, guys, it's one of those days, or evenings in this case. Milling machine's quit, which I'll have to check on with Grizzly tomorrow. And I thought this was a 1.6 copper coated mild. It isn't. It's, the lesson here is don't leave part rods lying around, put them back or label them. So what we've got here is this is actually silver braze, and it's a nice nice flowing material, and it's got pretty good tensile, but it was meant to be mild steel on the joint. Right. Anyway, it probably doesn't pull as much. It probably doesn't pull as much as I got Welding in the way now. It doesn't pull as much as the steel would. But anyway, we've basically kept square okay. It looks alright as far as I can tell. So I've got to get the other piece on the other end. And of course, having started on the silver braze, it was a case of carrying on with it. So anyway, it's another mistake for the memory banks. Don't do that again. Get the rod right first time. Well, it's not over pretty. I've seen worse and I've seen a heck of a lot better. There is one advantage to using the braze, of course. The temperature can be kept a bit lower. I was kicking off probably at about 160 on the foot pedal and then backing off to probably 140 or less once I got a flow going. But I tell you what, the two problems with old age. One is a very unsteady hand, and the other is bad eyesight. I got a cataract in my left eye, which is near useless, and the right eye is not as good as it was. Anyway, that's enough of my excuses. So there's the piece. I haven't checked it finally for truth, but it's held pretty well, and I think, as I said earlier, probably the amount of pull from the weld would have been worse with a mild steel filler, although I was tacking it. Anyway, I'll probably grind this up just to smooth that off, and then we'll make something for the boring head, which means another piece of round bar, turn it down, put some thread on it, and then we'll see where we go from there. It's interesting though, isn't it? Oh, I just wonder how sturdy this will be. I should keep saying all the way through this is an experiment, like so much of my stuff. Anyway, I'm going to quit for the day now. We'll come back and see what happens the next time. Well, fortunately the breakdown of the mill was a minor thing. It turned out to be just a fuse. I'm not quite sure where the fuse went. It may have been just a current spike when I was drilling 1/2 inch. So we got around that problem. So here's the weird looking piece. I don't know what sort of rigidity, if any, I'm going to get out of this. But going back to what I was saying about the filler rod, this is silver braised 2. It's an old BOC rod from the UK. Silver bearing. Goodness knows what it would cost me now. In fact, I'm quite pleased I used it, because the shrinkage factor, I would suggest, is probably less than if I'd used parent material. And this is held square pretty much in all directions. That's held square that way. It's held square that way. And also, it seems, juggling around with this, it seems we've actually held pretty good square that way. So although I've ground these down a bit now just quickly, I'm not after pretty. I think the joints are pretty well strong enough. The fill on the fill there is pretty strong. Got 1 or 2 little gaps now and again, but I had pretty generous V, and I think we'll find that strong enough. Now this is the old setup which I had for the horizontal method, and the handle. Now I'm going to make a new one of these, because I only need a short one, and if I hadn't said already, which I probably did, I don't want to modify this one. I keep all my options open. So what I've done here, I didn't ream that hole. It's actually very close to 1/2 inch. It might be plus by 1 thou. So I'm going to make a new one of these, probably about that length. Put a flat on it, and then we'll see where we go from there. And then finally, this is a piece of scrap 1/2 inch, which will go in there. I'm going to may even use that. I'll cross drill sufficient to get in a piece of quarter tooling, and then what we'll have is we'll be going like this with the tool presented to the work on centre, which may give us a half decent cut. We'll see how that goes. If things aren't rigid enough, it's back to the drawing board. I meant to say, although we've just got a simple hole in here, it probably ought to have a brass bushing, but for this experiment I'm not going to bother. Just use a plain hole. It's just a smidgen oversize on 1/2 inch, so probably I'll turn this down to suit, try and get a reasonable fit, and if later on it seems worthwhile, I'll maybe make a small brass bushing, but bear in mind it's not going to be used a whole lot. So we've got to turn this down. I've got to take off about 270, get me down close to the 1/2 inch, so there's not much to see there, so I'll come back to it when I make a bit of progress. Alright, hopefully got this piece finished. I'll just put a bit of oil on. I tried it just now in here and it was a bit tight, and I put it on dry so it galled just slightly, but this is the critical area. So we're looking at just alright, I want that tight, so that leaves us, we've got to make the collar here and then the thread, and this end, which may even need to be shortened, I'm not sure, but I'm trying to make some allowance for shimming to get help with centre height, and we've got to put a flat on there, so we'll cut this off, turn it round and get some thread on it. Right, we'll reverse this in the chuck, and we're heading down towards 7/8. Let's see where we are with that one there, and we're down to 7/5. I've got 19 to go. So we'll actually take, let's get it down by 16 total and check it again. Always tend to slow down a bit closer to the end. As the saying goes, when you're taking it off you can't put it back. And that leaves me 3 thou altogether. So I'll take a 2 thou cut. I'd rather be just under when I come to do the threading, because it's not overcritical. That should get us to where we want. Okay, right, actually not quite a thou undersize, I'm happy with that. And then I think we'll just get a decent chamfer on here and set up for the thread cutting. I don't know whether the camera's probably not seeing that because the tool post's in the way. Alright, now I've got to set up for some threading, but let's put in a back relief first and get that prepared. We're putting in 7/8 by 20. Just a hand feed with the hand turning spindle gives a lot of feel, and I don't think I'd want to part off without centre support if I was going all the way through, to be honest. Let's keep going a little bit. There we go. Let's take it up to 40 thou and have a little bit of leeway there. Alrighty. Alright, we've got this tool set up. So we're just going to do a scratch test and see if we're going. I'm going to get the saddle going the right way. Be a good idea, wouldn't it? Alright, let's try again. Again, I'm turning by hand. Oh, hang on a minute. I've got my cross slide stop in place. I don't suppose you'll see the scratch. You might see it from there, I don't know. Just got to check the... oh, where'd I put it? Alright, here we go. I've got my extra light on the lathe today, so the colour temperature may be different, but I'm going to keep it on. I can see a bit better what I'm doing. Let's get the light on that and see what's happening. 1, 2, there we go. Alright, that's spot on, so that's good. Never assume I've set the gears right without doing a bit of a test. So we'll wind in I'll just take a 5 thou cut. I won't bother you with all of this because doing it this way is a bit slow. It does make it easier getting the half nuts out in that tight space, doing it by hand. Alright, I won't bore you with this, I'll just bring you in at the end. Okay, I got well wrapped up in that and almost forgot to put the video on again, and also I didn't put my dial gauge on the back of the tool post as I usually do, but I can more or less recognise the thread form on here, so I just took a spring cut and we should be good to go on that, hopefully. So go all the way, can't feel much movement. That's good. Okay, that's the hand side of it finished, and all I want now is just to unlock everything. I just want that little chamfer on here. And I don't think I need to even fire up the motor. I just bring that just use the edge of the thread cutting tool. That'll work. Okay. And I don't think I even need to run a file there. No, that's pretty good. Right, do I want to do anything else on that? I don't think so. I'll take that out and just clean it up a bit. So we've basically got just a shorter version of the other one. Alright, and the next thing is to see where we want the flat on this end so that it suits the rotation direction. Alright, we're just going to put a bit of a flat on here. We don't need very much. Right, that'll work. That's all we need. Just enough to hold that set screw. That's basically all we need. It should be enough. Can't tell whether we're focusing half the time. Alright, the camera is absolutely perched. I'm trying to get in close enough here to show just one bit of detail. I've got the thing assembled. I'll come back for a wider shot in a minute. What I'm trying to do here, and I've got to get in close with my magnifiers, I'm trying to come in close so I can just get a scratch . There, let's see. I'll have to shine a light on that. Everything's very dark down the bottom here. Yep, I've got a scratch. So, I'm going to use that as a guide to turn this piece of 1/2 inch into a boring bar. You know, to take a piece of tool through here, but I'll come back for a wider shot in a minute, and I should have enough, well, again, wait till I get a wide shot and I'll tell you other thoughts, okay? Right, there's another angle. Still probably not showing it all. I'll probably have to use the tripod. I'm using everything mounted on steel with a mag base at the moment, but that's the idea. So far it feels fairly solid, and I'm hoping there should be enough meat at the top so that I can shim it downwards or up, well, probably shim it downwards if I have my center height just off, and get a final adjustment. There's quite a few adjustments possible. I'd thought of making a threaded adjustment, but it's too fiddly, and at the moment I just want to see if it's, you know, this is like proof of concept. Success or disaster. Let's move the camera a bit further off again, and let's see if this shows a little bit more. I don't think this light's in the best place actually. I'll bring it right forward on the mounting here. That might help a little bit. Bit more light. Yeah, I'll try it. So anyway, there we are. We've got the old 4-way tool post. We've got the piece of 20mm there, and these joints. As I say, it's held pretty true. Yeah, I'm just trying to eye it up. I think it's coping all right, pretty close. The boss here is a bit oversized from the other horizontal version, but I managed to do it up so it works. Fibre washers, top and bottom, so I can keep it fairly tight. And we've made a scribe line on here. I'm going to take that out and finish it off and bore and tap from the end for a set screw and put in. I haven't got a way to broach that, so it'll have to be a round hole for a square tool, but I think that'll work just for testing. So I'll mess around with that and I'll bring you back in a little while. Well, I keep trying different camera angles. I'm actually mounted on the table at the moment. I'll see if the vibration's too bad. If it is, apologies in advance. So I'm just going to do the cross drill for the tooling. This is only mild steel as a boring bar. I mean, I'm making a lot of concessions as we go at the moment. Alright, well that's, I'm just going to enlarge that. Oh, sorry, you're going to get a lot of hand in the way here, the way I've got the camera. So I'm just going to enlarge that. Sorry, I'm totally too close in, I think. I'm going to enlarge that and put in a C-drill. If this actually runs true enough, because it's a cheapie. But this gets me close to 243, which is the diagonal measurement of the tooling, and that should mean I can put the tooling straight in. I must get some broaches sometime. Okay, now I've got to drill the bottom of it for a set screw. I'll do that in the lathe. It needs facing off. Bit of vibration there as we break through. Yeah, it's just about. I'm trying to see now. Alright, I've just it's got a deep burr inside there. And I've just run a quarter in for about a 30-second to give a start for tapping. It's a fairly large set screw, but I want it to get a good hold on the tooling. I've got that in. I think we're about up to the limit, so I'm hoping with this tap that it's got me in far enough. I'd love to buy a set of super quality taps, 3 of everything. I should be so lucky. Have to make do with these rather crappy, cheap ones. I just clean that hole up. Now I'll get the tool ground. I've got a little fragment of tool which might do. Okay, I've cut a very rough and ready tool. It's a little stub of 1/4 inch, and I'm not sure yet what the formula will be to get the exact radius correct, so I'm just taking some end cuts just to see what happens. Got a little bit of chatter at one point, but I think there's potential, and also I didn't put a radius on this tool, I forgot. So it's a bit pointy. Let me just see what whether you can see anything. Probably need a bit more light actually to see anything here. I'll wind in a bit of cross slide. Well, that's you can't really see the cut from there. So the tool is way too pointy. Completely forgot to put a radius on it. Let me unlock the carriage a minute. Need to be a much better grind, and a radius I think will make quite a difference. So anyway, I'm going to call it a day on that. In essence it works. Things are pretty solid. I don't think it's going to be as rigid as I would like, but even so I'm surprised at how rigid it is. It's very hard to get much movement, and I think if the cutting tool does a smoother job, we may have some potential. I like the tool is on center, by the way, because I can you see that? Yeah, I shimmed up. No, I shimmed down. In fact, I was actually very close with my first positioning, and I was only a few thou either way, so shimming under there got me where I want to be. It doesn't look as though I'm on centre from your angle, but it is. I checked it against a centre. Anyway, that's it for now. I don't think it's a total disaster. I think it's got some potential. Decent tooling, that's the number one, and I'll do another test either the next video or a bit later. I don't know when to actually stop this one and how many clips I've got to tie together. If this is the current end, thanks for watching. If not, there'll be another bit to follow. But I hope you followed it as we've gone along. It's a pretty harebrained scheme, isn't it? But I just felt it was worth a try. So anyway, for the time being, I'll say thanks for watching. This is just a little addendum, really. I noticed in one of the earlier clips there seemed to be quite a lot of movement on this. Shall we call it a gantry? I don't know. At that point, in fact, this was not totally secure in the tool post, and I think that made a difference. But it's been bugging me, and I thought, well, really, it's pretty solid. So, excuse the handheld again. Now, trying to do this handheld, but I'm pushing and pushing and pulling on this piece, and the amount of movement is very, very slight. That's left. Hang on. Of course the camera's moving as well, but I can assure you that the amount of displacement that I can feel is very slight. So overall the rigidity factor is probably better than I expected. Not perfect, but it's pretty darn good. Anyway, we'll progress at a later stage with different tooling and try and actually turn a darn ball. Alright, again, thanks for watching.